such very aggressive music this time. Sometimes it goes real slow. Sometimes it goes like
I know
how it was. So welcome everyone to YNS Live with NFL Thread Pivot, our new series. Juliette Hahn here with Cynthia Zordich and our guest, Russell Shepard. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys? Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
So happy to have you.
Yes, very excited. Okay,
it's
so
really
we're going
to because I had the Go ahead.
Is there a delay? Last time I was on, I had a little delay, and so I'm going to be aware. There's a delay. Something's going on with my phone. Okay, so there's a delay. So I'm going to start basically introducing the show, and then I'll pause and wait. There's not a delay in the replay, but there's a delay apparently when I'm talking. So if you guys are not familiar with YNS Live with NFL Thread Pivot, this is the new series that Cynthia and I are doing. I'm going to let Cynthia kind of jump on and give a little snippet as people are joining. We have a lot of people here right now on live on LinkedIn. So hi, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. So welcome. And anyone that is in the audience, and I know people are going to be coming in, if you guys want to click the two little lines to the bottom left at the bottom, you can click on those and you can broadcast to the world. So you can send a text, you can send a message, an email, you can send it to other people on Fireside. You can also send it to other people on other social media apps. So if everyone wants to take a moment to do that, that is awesome because people can actually listen in if they're not in Fireside. And that's what I love about Fireside so much is that people can listen why I don't know that they are. Like there's a bunch of people actually saying hi to us on LinkedIn right now, which is really fun. Cool. So I'm going to let Cynthia kind of give a little introduction to Russell, but also talk about, why we wanted to start Pivot and why it's so important to us.
Perfect. Hey, Russell. Thank you so much. I had the pleasure of meeting, Marion and Russell at the NFL Business Academy in Michigan, the University of Michigan. It was just such a great experience for all of us. I was covering the event for NFL Legends. However, Russell and Marion came in with a purpose. And first of all, it was to win, which they did. They won the best new business in pretty much promoting the idea of Shep Boys, which is now, I can't wait to talk to Russell more about what Shep Boys Waste Management is all about. But I wanted to have Russell on mostly today because in working with transition so much, in dealing with transition myself personally, in writing When the Clock Runs Out with Bill Lyon, in talking to former players about their transition, I'm so excited to revisit this with a whole new generation and talking about what is it like when you have to let go of the game and how do you go about it. Russell is unique in that he started preparing for transition as a rookie. And so we're going to talk about that. Russell, thank you so much for coming on to talk about how your transition was kind of altered by the fact that you were already thinking, you were being very proactive as a young player. So thank you so much for coming today.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited. That's all I was about. And the big thing with me when I was in NFL locker rooms, I played 7 seasons. I retired in my 8th season, and I always was one of the guys who talked about different things in the locker room. I didn't talk about video games. I didn't talk about going out. I wanted to talk about business opportunities, things that were going on in the economy. Like I said, I was able to grow up in the NFL. So I seen the need to figure out what's new, how do you continue to grow, how you continue to just evolve as a person and be more than just what they label us as, and that's just, football players.
So I would love to jump in on that because I think that I was saying that to Cynthia. I'm so fascinated with entrepreneurs and people that think a little different and, go-getters and people that, really are there not just to live life, but to live life. You know what I mean? Like really just do their best. So what do you think gave that to you? I mean, I've read a little bit about your parents are definitely someone that's, are very important in your life, but I would love for you to just give a little background about kind of where you came from and how important your parents are and where you got that entrepreneurial, go-getting kind of spirit.
No, no, you're right. I appreciate that. My mom and dad are, they're kind of, they're the visionaries, the only ones I've known and seen in my, so just kind of watching them, grow their company. I always use the term scale their family, because, they both were two just high school graduates, and like I said, really didn't have too many resources coming up, but them working together, buying good pieces of real estate, as we grew and as they grew in their professions. My dad was a entrepreneur himself. He owned his own trucking company. Throughout my childhood, he dealt with AC repair. He dealt with a little bit of everything. He was a jack of all trades, plumbing, whatever you was a blue collar thing. He believed in having as many trades as you possibly can to kind of stop from having such an up or down financial resources throughout the year. He experienced that early on with just being in one industry, and one thing got slow. He realized quickly I need to get another thing. So I kind of give him. He was kind of my inspiration, when I was in the NFL, to figure something outside and not allow that to be my only source of income, and just kind of meaning of just who I am. And then my mom is a very, corporate America. She's a high school grad as well, but she was able, just through hard work, networking, communication, just being a good person. She's a rock of our family. She was able to climb the corporate America world and go from just being a assistant, to, really she was the head of huge medical practices in the Houston area throughout my childhood, overseeing HR, business relations, administration. So watching her climb in her field from when she had me when I was 17, and obviously throughout by the time I was 18, my mom was still fairly young. She was still in her 30s, so we kind of grew up together. You know what I'm saying? So just watching them both kind of, just kind of overcome their hurdles and working together, and kind of building their family, putting me and my brother in better environment, putting us in day camps athletically and both business, camps. Like it kind of, made me who I am today.
I love that. And the thing that I also I find so fascinating, and you brought two things up: the communication and your story. Like stories connect us, and that's why I love podcasting. I love what Cynthia and I are doing. I love this platform, Fireside, because it lets us get our stories out. And when people hear, people can listen and people can hear. And I teach actually. When you hear someone's kind of like voice go up, and you can see their posture stand, and you can hear their, intonate, like their voice kind of get excited, that's something that means something. And when you were just talking about your parents, and, as I said, I read a little bit about it, and I could feel the love and the dedication they had, because wasn't it and correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it your father that kind of said to you, you should think of something that you can do because football's not going to always be there? Was he the one that kind of stirred you in that direction? And then even as you said, you were always kind of thinking too, because that's the background they gave you. Can you give us a little information on that?
Yeah, so my rookie year, my first 2 years while I was in the NFL, I stayed with my parents, and I saved. I had a fiance at the time, and we were saving up for a marriage, a wedding, excuse me, as well as a down payment, and for a home, so we can start building in our community. So my first year in the house doing my off season, doing with my dad, he's like, man, let's start something. He said, you got a little cash. What I'm saying? He said, you're saving some money with staying with me and mom. He says, let's do a dump truck company. And, far as with dump trucks, so our family has about 3 decades of experience with dump trucks. And dump trucks are pretty much, these giant trucks that transport, raw materials like sand, clay, dirt. We had those, and we transported them to and away from construction sites, development areas, things like that. So we did that for about 4 years, and we started off with one truck my rookie year. And about my fourth year in the NFL, we got up to about 5 trucks. And we had that company. We did really well. My dad overseed it. He was overseed outside operations. My mom was inside sales. And in that company, I was more so of an investor and just learning. I kind of went to school. They put me through school. They sent me all of daily reports. I went through obviously tax, accounting things, operational things. When I was home for the off season. So those 4 years kind of gave me experience in running the company, overseeing the company while I was playing. And my fourth year, I had a pretty good year. I knew I was going to make some money from football going into the next season. So I decided to just give the company to my mom and dad. I made all the return on my investment, and my mom and dad, they were so good. They were good partners to me, and I just deserved that they I just gave them all the equity in the company, and I just want to figure something else out down the road.
What I love about that on the football side is the fact that as a rookie, you're investing into your future. That's incredible in itself. And then your numbers, I've read about your numbers and as they were growing as you were early on in your career. So here you are proving yourself on the field, special teams captain right away, ace special teams, which I love special teams. My husband actually played with Ron Wolfley in Arizona, and he was like one of those early pioneers of the idea that you can be a professional, all-pro player because of your special teams, contribution. And so I always love special teams, and also as a wide receiver. So you're proving yourself on the field, no doubt about it, and then heading to Carolina. And God bless you, coming from a free agent to have that, amazing career and contract with Carolina. But then here you are still carrying out your business, carrying out new businesses, growing off the field as well. What were your teammates saying about that? And what kind of conversations did you have with them? Did they think you were, crazy? Did they think that this was something that they should be doing?
Well, the thing about, to play at the highest level of anything, whether you're a surgeon, you're high in politics, you're a professional athlete, you kind of got to devote your time. It's always say you got to devote time to that craft, that whatever the task is, the job is. So, it was always at times a little hard to find conversation with my peers in the locker room about investment opportunities, business plans, just things outside of, being the best, you'd be surprised. I was able to get some great conversations. I mean, Kurt Coleman, he's one of my OGs, as they say in the NFL. I was with him on two teams. I watched him for many years, display leadership and what it was to be a pro's pro. So, you always run across guys like that, high character guys who are both high on the field and off the field. So, I was always able to find those type of guys and, be able to, iron sharpen iron and have those conversations. But, the thing that really pushed me is that, as I was able to have a pretty, a long career compared to the average, guy, the 2.5 to 3 years. So me being able to grow in the NFL and have some, have good luck with the first run around company with my parents. After I kind of, gave over the company to them, for the next 3-4 years, I went on an information binge, and every opportunity, whether it was through NFLPA, the NFL office, I was just going and I was going to events, and I was just trying to figure out what, really I don't like. What I really, what I do like. And throughout thinking I want to be a sports agent, thinking I want to be a professional GM, a head coach, I was able to kind of make it my plan D, end up being.
So I love, there were so many things here that I thought, because there was something I think I read or heard that you said, hard work is hard work. Right. Wherever you are. So if you're a professional athlete, hard work. And really in life, it's about consistency. It's about showing up for whatever you want to do. If you are not consistent and you're not, ready to work hard, whatever you're doing is not going to, not going to go to that next level. So I love that. And something that you were just saying, just kind of struck a question in my mind. And so, and you might be like, no, that I never even thought about that. And Cynthia, this will be interesting for you to think about too. Do you think because you had something, you were growing a business, you were growing your NFL career, do you think that allowed you to stay in the NFL longer because you didn't have that stress of oh my gosh, if I get hurt or if this happens, I'm not going to have anything because I don't know what I want. So it kind of let you just be and play. Does that make sense?
No, 100%. I definitely get what you're saying. It definitely did. For example, with the NFL is at times a false sense of reality when it comes to financials. Like I say, if you make $1 million, in NFL, you're going to get it usually over the course of the football season. That's anywhere from 4 to 5 months. 6 months depending playoffs and Super Bowl. Where in the real world you get it over the course of 12 months, or you get it through quarterly pay, certain things like that. So with me, throughout the times I realized throughout my first off season when I realized I didn't make any money, I was happy that I had Shep Boys Trucking, because I was able didn't make as much money, as I made with the football and the NFL contracts at times. But like I said, it was still something where I was able to save. I was able to invest. I was able to buy pieces of real estate. I was able to reinvest into my then company, Shep Boys Trucking. So being able, like I said, watching my dad have so many these trades and being able to weld and do plumbing. He had a CDL, and he was just a master of people. He was really good with people, and I was able to transfer that over to the football and be able to be a captain. I was a captain 3 years out of my 7 years in the NFL. And like I said, it contributed to, really big ups to my dad, because I watched him work rooms with people, and he was never the smartest, but he was always very, very empathetic or sympathetic towards people, their situations, and he was able to gain leadership. So I knew if I can transfer that skill set over to business, as well as, I have the experience, through running a company, which I was doing with the first company. I knew once I found the next thing, I knew I was going to have some success. I just knew I wanted to find it out while I was still playing, so I can still use that shield and that NFL brand as a way to kick down a lot of doors before it was all said and done.
I love that. Cynthia, did you want to add something?
Yes, I do. Well, first of all, I love, that's all, that I feel like everybody's pushing now, is that shield, that brand is going to open so many doors. And even for players who are active right now, ask individuals to go to lunch, ask questions about what they do, try to figure out, nobody's going to say no to go to lunch with an NFL player who's just interested in what they do. Right. But go ahead.
No, I mean, and I experienced it with my now company. I know we'll talk more about it, but like with my now company, Shep Boys Waste Management. So we're rental providers we're transporters of human waste, as well as we're rental providers of portable toilets, hand wash stations, waste tanks, water tanks, luxury restroom trailers. We do RV pump outs. Anything dealing with waste, the liquid waste, being human waste, grease. It can do anything. We transport it, we haul it, we contain it. So, with that style of company, me coming from an NFL background, a lot of people, they wouldn't tend to give me the time of day if I didn't have something interesting to create those conversations and create that, well, let me just give this guy the time of day. And having that NFL brand, man, I've been able to, to really step into some big doors, and, just being associated with that, we've been able to accelerate. We believe we've been able to accelerate our brand, our company, through, using that marketing tool. Like I said, we have the fastest growing waste management company in the state of Texas. Like I said, we'll be 2 years old at the end of July, and we'll do $1 million in revenue this year. And we're looking to continue to double and continue to grow as our economy grows. So we're excited, man. Really happy about it.
Yeah. And you know what? I think this is like a couple of different things, again, that you touched on, which I think is really cool. And I think I teach my kids this. Sometimes you don't know what you want to do, but you know what you don't want to do. And it's sometimes so important to know what you don't want to do. So just try everything, research everything, be curious, because so many people are not curious enough. They don't ask enough questions. As you said, sit down with people, ask questions. Hey, what do you like about this? Read their body language, see why they get excited. Ask those questions. Like, why are you excited? Because something is going to spark in you, when you're hearing someone else get excited, like, why are they excited? And I teach that all the time. And I think it's so important and sometimes undervalued because people don't really, talk about it. You talked about the relationships your dad made, and that is so important. You don't have to be the smartest, but if you can tap into people and talk to people and see their body language and know what excites them, you can get into good conversations, which can just lead to other things. So that curious mind, I love that. That's how you were raised. I hope, that my kids, as they grow, they always remember, mom always said, just ask questions, do things. If something interests you, just try it. Like, don't be scared of failing because you're going to fail a million times in life. And that's when you learn. So I think that is something that I love that you said that somewhere. Like, sometimes you just knowing what you don't want to do is going to get you somewhere. And then I love this piece that that was in the playbook that you said, I was looking for a recession proof and, obviously pandemic proof. You didn't know that at that time. You did, because that's when you were starting it. But like, that's so just, it's simple, but so smart. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so many people don't think of that. Like, I would love to do this, but okay, if life happens, is that something that's going to sustain me? So do you want to touch a little bit on that? Because again, that just like, as I was listening and reading that, I was like, oh, I need to ask about this because this is really interesting.
Right. You got to excuse me too. They're cutting the lawn.
No, don't worry. Of course.
Edit that. But so there was a process leading up to getting to where we're at now. The biggest thing was figuring out what I didn't want to do, and for 2 years I was pretty much throughout the off season and few years I was hurt and I was put on IR, so I had extra time during the season. So for 2 years I was pretty much building my sports agency. I thought that there was a need for players representing former players, representing current players. I did my research and for over a year, and I realized that there was less than 10% of the agents representing players, both in any professional sport, had any playing experience. And like I said, it was less than 50% of them played even college ball. So, through talking to NFL executives, talking to coaches, talking to, just players, I realized that there was a need for it. And, I was just kind of planning that. And so I had this whole plan. I talked to the NFL. I sold this whole thing on creating a firm, a sports agency where players can come and represent guys and play to their best interest because we know each other best, and they believed in it. They bit. So what they did was they helped me create a plan where I can go and use their resources and pretty much learn about the agency. The NFL office, the NFLPA, they have reps, they have people that oversee every contract that goes through an agent. They just have amazing resources where I'm learning that a lot of these agents they're using the NFL resources to back their work. So like I said, through working with the NFL, they sent me to the Indianapolis. They sent me to the combine. I was able to sit in on some executive meetings. I was able to sit in on the players, the agent annual meeting, and it was really throughout. It was really that piece when I went to the combine. And I'm just, being around 300 agents, seeing my peers and seeing the people that I'd be surrounded by every day. I just quickly realized that wasn't the type of person that I wanted to be surrounded by. And even though I still believe there's a need for a change and there's more players representing players, I just didn't want my peers or my circle to be that type of person. I just didn't see a heavy emphasis on good moral people in that field. So, like I said, I just kind of my second day, I was down there for 5 days. My second day down there, I called my wife. I said, baby, I think I'm going to find something else out. And, this was really my second plan because at first, I thought the trucking thing was going to be my thing, but took me a few years to realize that wasn't really what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And that's part of the reason why I gave it to my family, because it was really their dream. I just helped kind of fund it and learned from it. And then, like I said, the sports agency thing, I spent 2 years on that. and I was very passionate about that. Being a player and now a former player, it was something that I really wanted to. And that going to the combine was the last piece before I really started to study for my test and really kind of go after it, build my firm, And that really hurt me that I got to the last leg, and it was like, no, this is not what I want to do. Even dealing with a player, they don't really want, as an agent, I work for you, so a lot of times you don't get to tell them what's real, what they really need to hear, because again, you're their client, they're your client, and it's a working relationship. So you got to protect that relationship. And a lot of young players they need to hear things that they don't want to hear. So I just realized just the nature of the business, how it was going, it wasn't for me. So I had one contact in the waste industry, my wife. The power of relationships and partnerships and just everything, a complete network. She had a guy who started a company back when we both went off to high school, and his name was John Farley. He started Zeters, and Zeters is a nationally waste brokerage company. And let's say you own, Cynthia, a porta potty company in Hawaii, and say, Juliet, you own one in Florida, I own one in Texas. He reaches out to people all over the country and say, hey, let me help sell your stuff. I'll push it. I'll pay you for your stuff. I'll put a little extra on top for me, and we'll have a beautiful relationship. And he mastered that model over a 10-year period from 2009 to 2022, where we're at now. And now he has, the fastest growing waste company in the country. He has 300 plus employees. So bottom line is, I watched him scale that company. I reached out to him, and he told me, hey, Russell, people pooping and pissing every day. For a porta potty company. That's kind of
Just like the book, isn't everyone poops? Like my kids read that.
Right. Everyone poops.
Go ahead, Cynthia.
Exactly. I definitely want to chime in. I want to go backwards a little bit, because for me, this is so important to me. That period of time when you were at the combine, you had done so much work in prep, so much research. You're building this firm. You call Marion and you realize this is not what you want to do. Now, this to me is the most important part of transition, because, you had mentioned, and I believe it might have been in the playbook, that you realize, and a lot of players don't realize, that just because you try something and decide that it isn't for you, it doesn't mean that you failed. It means that it wasn't the right fit. Mm-hmm. And that's where I feel a lot of players and wives don't understand that when guys are trying those new things. And I want to know what was going on inside, like, your heart at that time, and what, because now you're just like starting all over again, right? What were you feeling at that time?
I was heartbroken. Obviously, I was heartbroken because that was something I put a lot. I will say I'm still more passionate about that than I am about what I'm doing now. So it was kind of hurt, because again, I was looking to touch a lot of my peers, their circles, guys I went to school with. Justin Jefferson, for example. He was a guy that was coming out of the NFL around the time I was thinking about starting my firm. And, Justin Jefferson is the younger brother of Jordan Jefferson. Jordan Jefferson was my quarterback at LSU. So I've been knowing Justin Jefferson since he was 10, 11 years old. So, obviously when you play with guys, they have siblings, they have kids, and I just wanted to really just touch my circle. So, that really hurt me when I just see that, okay, this space is not ready for a personality, a guy like me. So, like I said, the thing about me is, like I said, I rely heavily on my spouse, my wife. She's my best friend, she's my business partner, she's my everything. So even though she's not at times knowledgeable about certain things that I'm doing or want to do, a lot of things just comes off of just instincts and just good morals and values. So when I told her and I said, baby, like I'm not getting that sense of purpose down here. She said, just come home. She said, finish what you started. She said, come home and we'll reevaluate. And when I came home, like I said, I had an idea because when I came home to Manhattan, and we went out to eat that night, and we talked a little bit. And when we left the restaurant, it was the night before trash. And after leaving the restaurant, I seen a sea of trash. I had never seen anything like that. Being, in that, just never seen it. And I had to come back to the city the next morning for a doctor visit. And when I went back to the city, all the trash was completely gone. So, I had, it was kind of a short thing, but I told my wife, and I said, man, I have to, you remind me to talk to John, one day, because I know somebody's getting paid for moving this trash. I had that idea sparked from seeing that trash that one night. So when I came home, I said, baby, do you have John's number? I said, I'm going to call him. And I called John, and, I told John what I was thinking. I said, John, I'm getting burnt out on ball. I'm looking for some different direction. I said, I know you've having some success with your now company, Zeters. I said, just give me some direction, man. And John said, hey, start a porta potty company. He gave me the funny line, people pooping, shitting, and pissing every day. I took it as like, John, like, I got a pretty business mind, and I've done some things. I'm like, give me some more complicated, some more, and he said, look, Russell, you got to think about it. He said, I work with about 5,000 companies nationally. He said, I deal with them from a financial standpoint. He says, those companies do best than any company I've ever done. He says they're recession proof. He says it never goes anywhere. He said you can touch all different type of markets. You can expand. You can do different things. And he says, if you go buy brand new equipment, he says if you utilize your brand, you hire right. He says I'll allow you to use my now company Zeters. He says and help you accelerate the growth of your company. He says we use about 7 companies in the Houston market. He says if you do all these things I said, I'll use just you. We'll accelerate your growth. And that's what we did. Took us about 6 months to get the company up and going. We got started in February. We got the company up late July, August, and we opened the company in a month. At the month of negotiating with John, we got a price agreement, and the boys was going. We was open to go.
I love that.
Where did the Business Academy fit in? I'm sorry, the Business Academy was in March. So is this fitting right in between that? And what did you take away from the Academy?
Yeah, so that's very interesting you say that. So I got the idea after this. I got the idea after the football season in January-ish. I went to the Combine in February. I went to the Business Academy in March, and I sold the idea. Me and my wife sold the idea. And we was like, look, we're thinking about doing this. We did that. And then after I left the Business Academy and we won, because like I said, we put together a business plan within a couple of days, and we won. Then I came back home. I sold the business plan to my mom and dad. And within 2 weeks, they sold their company. And then we started building Shep Boys.
Yeah. That is so fascinating. And the thing that's so, again, you brought up so many different points, but was about like everything that keeps coming back to me is your curiosity. You just didn't want to be, right? You wanted something more and so many people don't do it. There's so many people out there that would have went to the Columbine and been like, okay, I put all this in. I don't want to disappoint everyone. I'm just going to continue that and be miserable the rest of my life, but I'll make it work, right? I'll make it work. I'll get happy because I'll find it. But you knew, no, I'm not going to. And then you had the supportive wife, Marion. I mean, I've heard, you talk about her so much, and I do want to, because I know you guys are high school sweethearts, which my sister and her husband are. So I love that. But that's what, there's so many different things that you touched on that are so important that people sometimes overlook, they overpass because they're just trying to get through life or just trying to move forward and not stopping and being like, okay, what do I want? What do, let these images, let these thoughts. And I'm a really big component of daydreaming. Some people call it meditating. I call it daydreaming because I can't sit and meditate. I have to walk and move. And that's when I daydream about things. And that's when I come up with ideas. That's how I came up with my podcast. And so many people don't do that, but you were looking around. You weren't just sitting there in the car being like, oh, you were like, wow. And I lived in New York City. So I know what the trash day looked like, and so you allowed that you were like, okay, this is interesting. I'm going to go with this feeling. I'm going to go with this thought. And that's what so many people don't do. And that's what, so many things in this podcast that teaching and people listening. Like that's one of the things I want them to take away. When you're walking or you see something and you get a little interest and you're like, what is that? Don't just stuff it, right? Explore it, think about it, like, ask questions about it. Like you did. Hey, Marion, I want to talk to John about this because this is coming in my brain. It's not just coming once. And that's what so many people do. An idea will come. And, Cynthia knows this, whether you believe in the universe or God, I believe in God, but we all have a path. I really believe we're all born for a path, and not all of us find it because we don't let ourselves kind of be there and think and kind of watch what God is doing and putting in front of us. And so many times when you have these things keep coming up, I mean, you had such a timeline. Like when you were putting that timeline, my mind was just going, wow, yes. I mean, it was really someone speaking to you, being like, okay, this is what you need to do. This should be the next move. This is an idea. So I just love all of that. And that's when Cynthia said, I want Russell to come on Pivot. And I was like, there's so many pivots here, which I just find so fascinating. But one of the ones that I read, and correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't you a quarterback in high school and then pivoted even your position?
Right, right. Yeah, it was a big thing for me. I went to high school, I went to college with a lot of, potential, a lot of hype. And like I said, by the end of my college career, I was a special team guy. I was the number one quarterback in the country when I entered LSU, supposed to be bring them back to the national championship and do all these things. And, life pivots, as you says, and things change and you have to adapt and you have to figure out other ways of thriving in your environment or your situation. And, being able to it was a humbling thing going from being a quarterback to a special team guy in college, not knowing that it was the best thing to happen for me once I got to the next level, because those guys tend to have the longer careers because they're jack of all trades. They're not, it's how the league goes, what I'm saying? If you can be a quality depth guy and then you can contribute to special teams, you're told that you can have a pretty successful career. And that was something I bought into and I did in my way. So, pivoting, adjusting, it's a big thing in the waste industry. Things, crazy stuff happen all the times in what we do. We're open 7 days a week. We start at, I'm up at 3:45, 4 o'clock every day, and I don't get home to 8 or 9. So, like I said, it's every day. It's an adjusting process. But I heard this guy say this one thing, and I'm not gonna be long. Is that life doesn't happen to you, life happens for you.
Yep.
And that's a big thing for me. You gotta, if you do what you need to do and things don't happen how you expect or want them to happen, it's not because you failed or whatever. It's because it wasn't supposed to happen. You just gotta trust the process and understand this just wasn't meant for me, and let me on the move figure all this out and still maintain and grow as a person and still, look out and be the best person for others as I can be. And this is something I've always applied to myself and just who I am and my family as we go.
Well, and I think that's one of the things, like you said, you pivoted, but again, and this is again just the thought that came to my mind when you just said you were the jack of all trades. And who was the jack of all trades in your life? Your dad. So you watched your dad do all that. You knew, okay, I was this quarterback, which we all know, if you watch football, that's the guy, right? Everyone talks. And so, as you said, it was humbling. So I would like to get a little, and then I do want to talk about Marion, but since you just talked about this, I want to get a little vulnerable. Like if you can take us through, because there's so many guys out there that I'm sure, okay, your position gets changed where they have to take the emotions out. And as you said, think about what's best for the team and also, the situation. So how did how were you able to kind of really pivot there and take all your life and kind of go to that next step in your career?
The college thing was extremely hard, obviously, because I was young in age, and at that point, I was just wanted to be the best football player of all time. So at that point in time, my support, system being wife now, girlfriend at the time, Marion, I'm having her, she was at school with me. So she was there for me. She, having healthy conversations, picking me up when I put myself down. And then having my mom and dad, that support system. And then you build a support system if, as you make, you meet morally sound and you choose to have healthy relationships around yourself, you build other healthy relationships and the support as you go. And I was able to build that throughout my LSU time, and they carried me through my journey. And then, like I said, once I got to my end of my LSU journey, and like I said, once I didn't go in the first round, I was an undrafted free agent. But when I was an undrafted free agent, I was able to pick my team instead of going to a team that wasn't for me, and find the right coaching personality and find the right player. I was able to start my NFL journey off, which is very pivotal, very important when you talk about having a career span that's not long. Where you started and how you started is very important. So, like I said, going undrafted, being able to pick my team and being able to get with the right situation, everything was just making sense as I went. You know what I'm saying? So I just think a big thing with me is, like I say, that support system allowed me to still go. And if you just go and just still do those right things, even when you're not having the results that you wanted to have, like you say, the success is gonna come. The string of good luck is gonna come. You know what I'm saying? So that's what my support system, my wife, my mom, my dad, and the good friends, the healthy relationships I built along the way with teammates, trainers, businessmen and women throughout my community and wherever I played, having those people, it enabled me to just continue to go. You know what I'm saying?
Ed, are you muted?
And continue to grow is what I said. Sorry, I was on mute. But I love that you said the individuals that pick you up when you put yourself down.
Right.
And I think that happens so many times, I think especially with players, especially in transition. For some reason, they miraculously forget all of the amazing things they did and who they are and what they accomplished. And they feel like they're at ground zero when they're not at ground zero, and they're here. And what is your take on that for young players that are going to go through transition?
I always tell guys, you got to take the mindset of next play in the real world. And the thing about is that the thing that makes the NFL so unique compared to a lot of other sports, and just really sports in general, but especially the NFL, because you only have so many games, 16 games compared to 82 and 100 and this and that, is that they expect us to be perfect within an imperfect game. And it's like, as players, as you play in the NFL, I had a guy tell me early on in my NFL career, he says, "Hey, don't take this too serious." And I didn't get it because I'm an undrafted rookie and I'm trying to make a team, create a family, create a life for my family. Like, why wouldn't I? This is bad advice. And as I got older, I understood what he meant is, like, as you prepare and if you genuinely care about the situation, the opportunity you're presented, don't beat yourself up when it doesn't go how you want it to go. So, like I said, that's why I encourage guys to change your conversations within the locker rooms, within your peers, and go from talking about, partying and video games and this and that, and talk about things that are uncomfortable, things you don't know about. And then throughout talking through these uncomfortable situations and learning from your peers and resources, you will figure out what you don't like, what you like, and what you're going to do. And that's all I did. I had no thought, no process of being this big businessman or being this guy who'd had the serial entrepreneur and this guy who builds these companies and exit at these high. I just wanted to be more than what just people said I was. I wanted to create more for me. And like I said, from my dad being a jack of all trades and just a curious guy, to my mom being a strategic, being a person that's very organized, a person that she was the person that was putting me in business camps. She's the person that said, "Hey, we need to start your nonprofit. We need to do this in the LLCs." And my mom is head of inside operations for me. She's from business administrations to taxes, accounting. My mom, we would die company wise without having a person like my mom. So, like I said, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just continue to try, get uncomfortable, change how the things that you seek. And like I said, you'll see some things that just kind of unfold. I mean, we've been, and again, this was lack of no experience in our industry. We've been approached 3 times in the almost 2 years we've been open about being acquired. You know what I'm saying? And this is just us. Again, we're figuring this stuff out still as we go. You know, we can't really. It's a lot of luck involved in this.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
What I love about you is that in the pandemic, where most of the world was using as an opportunity to lay back, you actually said that it gave you more time to research and to more time to look into things. And then instead of opening your company 6 months later, you opened 6 months early because of the pandemic. I think that's you. And I think that says a lot about you as a person and how you were raised.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, that was something that was big on us. You know, we looked at the pandemic differently. We wanted to test the market. We wanted to test the industry. We wanted to test what we were about to give our life to. So we said, why not start it doing one of the most unique, the most tough times that our world, not economy, our world has ever seen. And not only were we able to start it, we thrived in it. You know, we still have some numbers that we did within the first 6 months of the company that we still don't even do, and we're almost 2 years open. So, like I say, we do well when times are good in our industry. We do really well when times are bad. Like I said, when you have natural disasters, when you have things that occur both in your market, you have natural disasters in neighboring markets, being a city like New Orleans or a place like Florida. You can travel. You can be we're very important when it comes to world and natural disaster problems, and then also too from a chemical plant industrial thing, like I said. So we can touch a lot of markets and do a lot of different things what we do, and it's just very exciting because it's new, it's different for me.
Yeah, and you were curious and you thought about it, and I think that's what's really cool. And there's are you guys hearing the weird feedback?
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't just me. So I would love, because I know, we told you we're going to have you for here for an hour, but I would love for you to talk about your beloved Marion. And, you guys met in high school, and just take us through the journey. Do you remember the first day you met and you knew that this is going to be the person, or was it, a longer courtship? Just give us a little juice.
So wifey Marion Shepard. Obviously, my wife was 2 years older than me. So when I was a sophomore in high school, she was a senior, and she went to a neighboring high school, and we had some mutual friends, and we were able just to connect through some friends that went to school with me that were friends with her. And what happened was very interesting with my wife, which is very interesting to my journey, is that my wife went to LSU 2 years before me. And at this point in time, I wanted to go to Texas. I was a Texas kid. I was already a year or two within my high school experience, so I was already getting a lot of college attention. So she had her. She was 6 months from going to school when she met me. She's already had her dorm and had everything situated, and then this almost freshman 16-year-old come out of nowhere kind of got her attention. So when she went off to LSU, she still decided to maintain a relationship with me, which I was the lucky one, obviously still being in high school and dating a freshman in college. I just felt so cool. But, what happened was with me, like I said, I had a lot of attention in high school. I had a really good high school career, and I had the opportunity to really go wherever I wanted to go. And clap it up for her, right? And like I said, what happened was for 2 years straight while she was at LSU, I was going up there and going to visit her. And throughout my time going up there, I was meeting the coaches, I was meeting the players, the guys on the team, because everybody kind of knew who I was at that point. And like I said, I just kind of fell in love with the culture in the school. So when it came time to pick, 2 years in a relationship, and I was in love. And like I said, really, and this is another thing, for 2 years straight, my wife took the Greyhound down to every game my junior year, which was her freshman year. And LSU, Baton Rouge to Houston is 4 hours. On the Greyhound bus, it's 7 hours because you're gonna stop in every town. So for I had 11 games that year, and she took the Greyhound 10 weeks straight, and she came to every high school game of mine her freshman year, when LSU was just a year off a national championship. So, like I said, I knew early on that was somebody that deeply cared about me. And like I said, I just, I really chased love, and kind of made myself believe that LSU was the place that I needed to go.
Oh, I got the chills. I love that so much.
Yeah, all the recruiting coaches had to love that and love Marion for that.
She was a recruiting girl the next year. She worked for the school for 3 years, and then towards her last year of college, she decided to chase her career but do her own thing. But yeah, she was a recruiting girl. She's probably the best recruiting girl of all time.
That's great. And then how about the kids? I'm so excited for you with your beautiful family, your little boy, your little girl, and now one on the way.
Well, thank you. They're doing good. They're doing good. So they're growing. So we have a third one on the way. We have Moses Shepard. He'll be 6 years old. He'll start first grade this year. Big for him coming off COVID and all those type of things for the young kids and older kids. And then Ramsey is 4. She'll be a big sister soon. We have another one we're expecting in October. And my wife has this thing where she likes to have the kids at the house in the tub, natural at home births. Right? Yeah,
I
right.
love that.
So she's tough as they come. So like I said, we're gonna experience that, and
Oh, that's amazing. And what great ages. And as you said, the pandemic, I mean, it was hard on all kids, but my kids are teens and I feel like they knew what school was. And so, yeah, it was an adjustment. But I think about the younger ones that never really experienced school and how hard that has to be as a family. So exciting that he's going into first grade and gets to experience
Right.
school, in a normal world.
right. It's good for his confidence. It's good for his social environment. Like I said, kids need to be around other kids and socialize and have experiences. So we're excited for him.
Exactly. And I'd like to say that the energy that you and Marion have, and I have several photographs from the Business Academy where you guys are working together, deep discussions, excitement, planning, like just this team like that you had. It was like you both came with a purpose and working together. I was really excited to find out that you were actually a married couple that were working on this project together. And I imagine that's how you guys do everything.
Oh yeah, everything. I mean, from the household, to business affairs. We're in the process of working with banks as we continue to scale our company and be able to go to different markets. And to take that next level in business, you have to have strong banking relationships. And my wife is as big of an asset as my mom is to the company and what she does on a daily operational standpoint. My wife is big from putting together presentations, being able to present the company, market the company, and she's really helping us kind of get the resources we need to continue to scale and go to the next level. So it's all hands on deck. And you're right, Cynthia. I wouldn't be here without her today. And she's my yin to my yang. She's everything to me.
I love that. So as we kind of come to a close, I would love to know if you can give the NFL community not just the NFL community, but young players, but even people out there, because your story is so relatable to so many people. There's so many different things that you touched on throughout this that is just got me excited, and just there's people out there that are like, I need to be better. I need to do better. I have one life. I need to do something big. So can you give like your 2 top tips that you would say to someone that's struggling, that someone's like maybe ready to pivot their life?
Seek uncomfortable moments. Seek
Mm.
things that you tend to not, you don't do well. Things that you've been running from, whether it's trauma, from things that you've grown from and overcome, and you got to kind of untangle those, or there's insecurity or things that you've kind of built and put on yourself through life, going through life. Like I said, I always tell people, seek uncomfortable moments, because that's where you tend to grow the most. That's where you have just the most and you push yourself, and even if you don't try, if you try to live the most conservative life, uncomfortable moments and situations are going to find you. So you might as well find them before they find you. So, like I say, seek those. And my last thing is embrace failures. You have to fail your way to success. And like I said, as beautiful as the company sounds, and as good as it goes, like every day is a struggle. Like I say, being wanting to be, my purpose wasn't to really. I thought my purpose was to make it to the NFL. And once I got to the NFL, it kind of scared me and pushed me to figure out what my purpose really was, because I figured out that it couldn't be my purpose. It was so short lived. I was only 29 years old at the time when I realized it. So, it made me go figure something else out. And through that, I realized my purpose was coming back to my community and providing opportunity. That was my purpose was, and that's what I was, needed and wanted to do. So, through that, I was able to just continue to keep going. And like I said, it's coming together, because like I said, regardless whether I'm doing it right or doing it wrong, I'm working in my purpose. And like you said, the universe, God, that's where that little luck or that little karma come from, when you work for the right reasons and the right people. That's what I mean. You get a little blessed and a little lucky, because like I say, statistically, odds, like I say, we're not supposed to be here. You got a mom who had a son at 17, a dad who was, coming from the streets, who never had a college degree. And then you had a kid who all he knew was football. And like I say, for us to, start, what we started, and we're scaling the way we're scaling. This is not just big for me and my mom. This is big for, the community, because we're going to take on and we're going to help people do a lot of things.
And you're going to show people your story. Your story doesn't make you who you are. It helps you grow, as you said. And everything you just said, I was like, oh my God, he's such my people. Like, this is what I talk about all the time, because it's so important. It's so important. And people don't always talk about it. And so thank you so much for joining YNS Live with NFL Thread Pivot. Russell, I mean, it's such a pleasure to have met you. I need to meet your other half as well. And, good luck with the kids and the business. And I can't wait to, just watch you also grow and do what you're doing, because you're inspiring people with your story and your beautiful family down to your parents. It's really one of those things that just, if you're listening out here, everywhere, anywhere you are, you need to share it, because there's people out there that need to listen to this. You might listen to this and say, oh, that's so cool. That's great. But you don't know what your neighbor, your cousin, your mom, your dad, your aunt, uncle, sister, brother, who in your life actually needs to hear this story, because they're in a spot that they don't know what to do. And as you heard, it's scary, but that's where you learn to grow. In those uncomfortable moments, that's where you grow. So, Russell, thank you so much for joining. Cannot thank you enough.
Me too.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it, man. Y'all are great people, man. Anytime I can come on, let me know.
Yes, please. You got a lot of teaching to do. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
you have a lot of wisdom.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
God bless.
I know.
And thank you, as always, Cynthia.
Thank you, Juliet.
All right, guys.
Bye to
Again, know where you